certainly as we've seen over numerous cases in our evolution of study with XANDRIA's Theater of Dimensions, we've come across these pieces with such dramatic titling, in particular with the emotional reach, and I see Song for Sorrow and Woe having that daintiness and directedness that is immediately and beautifully attractive. And points of appeal with me in terms of symphonic metal, an easy reach when you consider about genre attribution, plus XANDRIA's credit. The prowess that we've seen readily demonstrated on any entry we've hit on from a mixture of eras in our larger study of a XANDRIA deep dive in their history. Because the lineup has changed substantially, and so has, to some extent, a foundation to XANDRIA in symphonic prowess, yes, and there are clear roots that have defined them even into where they sit from present day, but clear distinctions in the mixture of eras we've surveyed together, whether it be Manuela Krahler's vocal leadership of the group, or the present Amber Wouverhuis, or where we currently sit now with Diana van Giersbergen in a deeper study of not only XANDRIA there, but her work too, where XANDRIA is the initiation of more to come, in a study of her vocal capabilities, and I cannot wait to get there. We're almost at that point, in fact. But XANDRIA has quite an admirable prowess and reach, certainly on sentiment within their songs, and the mixture of appeal on tone that their songs take. Again, a great versatility readily expressed by a number of different artists, and XANDRIA is no different in the symphonic metal vein. It's part of the reason I'm attracted to it so much, other than the defined orchestral feeling, that widened atmosphere, all the tones brought in. A lot of various elements, even with symphonic metal, there might not necessarily be typical influences, and just some subtle drifts from time to time. Even in our study of Theater Dimensions, we've seen that in a larger vein of a conceptual journey. One that is materializing quite interestingly, in that I would say it's actually, at least in the numbers as I'm viewing them, not just one directed concept, but based on some of the associations between particular numbers or individualized standing, it's a good combination. It really does come across as quite a theatrical work with a real symphonic tone, symphonic directly, but a cinematic presentation. One that I find quite endearing. And songs titled Song for Sorrow and Woe, again, that emotional appeal, really connects. And I have seen a brilliance of that in delivery with lyrical execution of what XANDRIA has readily manifested. I'm sure we'll see another example in our time together as we evolve closer to the finale point of a full album survey, as I promised you with this particular entry on their catalog, and one that I find of quite glamour. Not a surprise, again, from XANDRIA or Diana. Her vocal credits getting introduction through XANDRIA, it's a great first step of where we're going to in future experiences. Of the spinto soprano range, a Dutch origin, and I've heard many again from along those lines that are quite capable. She's certainly one of my more recent favorites in my ever-growing list of favorability towards European capable vocalists within the operatic capability range, and every experience we've taken thus far with XANDRIA or Diana has been great. And I'm a fan, by the way, to be perfectly clear on this, as I've noted before. There's quite a versatility of viewpoint among XANDRIA fans as to which era is the best and which is everybody's favorite. I'm somebody that likes all three, whether it happened to be, again, the ones we've studied together. Manuela Krahler, Diana van Giersbergen, or Amber Wouverhuis, I love each one. Their own distinct reasons, but again, similar roots of symphonic prowess, but on vocal capability and reach. Diana really does shine. Again, a great fit to the group when she was with them. And it is quite sad that we'll not be seeing any new adventures, but in the window we have right now, we will be with Diana, for sure in future developments, but with her time in XANDRIA, this really is a special experience. Again, however we're approaching this, whether you happen to be longtime fans or initiate listeners, I welcome everybody and hope you feel at home here as we're consulting a truly dynamic album. Now at the 10th track in the record out of 13 we'll be surveying. I would recommend if this is your first initiation, you go back to the beginning and humor it that way, whether independently or alongside me. Theater of Dimensions, I cannot recommend it enough as an experience, and I think it would help you as we approach Song for Sorrow and Woe, for many of us, I'm sure, on fresh interaction, or, of course, on review perspective if you are already familiar to this piece where I'm not. And this will be a first interaction for me, that again, we get to take in company to one another, which is the best way to enjoy XANDRIA, I think. Best way to initiate, certainly that's the story of the Diana era, which I've been meaning now to get to for months. And I'm grateful that we're actually near at the finale point already, in our first step with greater things to come and new adventures with such a capable vocalist. And, of course, an open door for even more developments in the future for XANDRIA. I can't wait to hear more and witness them alongside you, whatever those look like. Anyway, let me get the number. Why didn't I get the number ready in preparation? Song for Sorrow and Woe. Here we're supposed to be going. Okay. This is why I need to click the right buttons in advance. All right, here we go now. I think we're ready. We're beginning on a much softer note with this one. Welcome, though. Again, Diana, wherever her vocals are placed, and capturing range. And a beautiful amplification on voice. Mood of this number, I like the fanfare vibe to it. The riffs are structured really well. This one sounds quite familiar to me on voice, at least in the first verse. Exclusive departure and development. I love the soprano vibrato here. Again, even flows of her, whatever pitch she hits and whatever vocal command is necessitated by development of the song. Love this woman. I cannot wait to experience more with you post XANDRIA. Just the window we've had has been so great. These builds are just, again, a series of O's, but they're so atmospheric, aren't they? The development is perfect on voice. Static mood again on build within these verses. Quite familiarized as we enter the graces and have reprisal sections, and even still plenty of variance. Different extremes embodied again by a power metal and heavy metal entrance. That's what I would classify this as centrally. Clear footing that way. Takes its time though on development. Each piece in some way particularly individualized. That light warble again with the symphonic shade. Paired with her vocals. Wow. Speaking of the cinematic quality to Theater Dimensions, it really comes quite pronounced here. And that is mostly due in part to some of the instrumental choices with the tools enveloped in the song. Very well managed too on structure. These climbs always get me. I'm assuming this is going to be our outro closure out, I think. Just looking at a couple of the lyric pages and considering the series of woes being replicated as a natural refrain. Have we done this before with XANDRIA? With the fade out on the audio? And that's an interesting choice for track 10. We still have 3 numbers to go. I would have seen that more in the context of a Theater of Dimensions. It's an interesting choice. I mean, I don't know. Normally, a lot of these pieces have ended with such an abrupt drift that it's a defined choice for this one. Again, alongside many with Song for Sorrow on Evolution. Lyrically, it's a rather, at least if you're looking at one of the lyric panel window pages as you listen to the song as I was, it's a relatively strict song, and I would say limited on script, because it's mostly occupied by replications and natural refrains of that O section, which allows for Diana's vocal achievement to be fully showcased. And I really like that effect. Again, the higher vibratos. And there's a natural cohesion on voice as we entertain the song, but develops well. Certainly as we entertain it, the O's amplify on vocal strength and on range. Any note she hits truly is an amazing experience and sensation. It certainly qualifies as a more than fulfilling symphonic metal experience, which is clearly reminiscent on Initiation, though it changes as the number proceeds. On that first verse, though, I've been noting a fun similarity that's popped up, including with the last number, Saili. Again, I might be getting the pronunciation wrong, forgive me if so, but I said there on the deliverance of like a Pirate Imagined score and symphonic prowess and adjacency with regard to XANDRIA, I thought immediately of a similarity to Visions of Atlantis with their 2022 album, Pirates, having humored that in full in preparation of this, and it was such a welcome experience. I highly recommend it, by the way, if you've not witnessed Visions of Atlantis. They're incredible on scoring. Cannot wait for more Witness encounters whenever that happens in terms of the new album announcement. I'm looking forward to whenever that drops, with an open door of acceptance here for whenever we get to that, and I cannot wait to venture down that path with you, but Pirates was great. I hear, it's not on Pirates, so I recognize it. I'm thinking of, it's on their earlier album, Wanderers. I believe it's track, I don't know if it's, it is track, it is track 4, A Journey to Remember. Some of the elements on score construction with that one and key choice feel mirrored with this. That album came later, but it's interesting to see that even over the time displacement between Theater of Dimensions and Wanderers, there's a key similarity on voice and attitude and styling between the two groups, again, in the symphonic definition. That really comes out. But again, Song for Sorrow and Woe fleshes out its own voice very well. Again, limited at least on the lyrical script by comparison to past XANDRIA numbers that we've experienced together on Theater of Dimensions, which are much more, I would say, on that front, elaborate and extensive. This one, more so dominated by replication of that O verse. But again, you welcome it immediately because you're like, okay, this is a window of Diana's credits. And it does feel immersed to the quality of a song where it's directed symphonically. It carries its flow on quite a natural footing, I would say. Although the end still, I don't know. I like the number generally, but that's really interesting to end the album, or not end the album, end the song on that note, when we're entering the graces of, I believe, 3 more pieces, including that last closure. Again, I would have seen that employed, especially when the cinematic touch of where I know in advance a Theater of Dimensions is going, and that's more so directly noticed there. I would have seen that, maybe it'll present itself there and mirrored, I guess, in hindsight, we're able to say that if that is the case, to Song for Sorrow and Woe. I just find it really interesting and differentiated to my suspicions to cap the song off with that fade out a little earlier on. Maybe it works because of the O drift and the maintenance of that on another refrain going into that fade out and that being the closure. I guess. Maybe it's to give the song a bit of a drift effect. So it kind of, it lingers on. It does feel acceptable, I think, the more I reference it. Yeah. It's starting to make sense, but it still feels, on first appearances, superficially, I don't want to say odd, because that feels unintentionally critical. It's certainly unexpected in a larger cinematic work, especially when it's such even tracking, to have a cap on a fade out where it's not been exercised previously, to feature that on isolated standing as the 10th piece. And there have been a couple albums that have maybe employed that agent, but there's something about the way that Theater of Dimension performs, I saw it going a different way. But I guess the more that I think about it again as an agent of decision with that number, it feels, if it's going to be brought anywhere, Song for Sorrow and Woe, I think, welcomes it. In the way it's constructed, it does seem like a fitting add-on, I think. And maybe it's a change that, we have to develop a taste for, right? Music is very much a subjective experience. I know that better than most, right? We all have individualized perspectives. I know certainly with XANDRIA's regard over their different history, but I know, of course, this era is seen with such adulation, fittingly, of course. But again, I happen to like any window of it. And certainly studying theater dimensions with you, it's quite a welcome opportunity. But even to study different points of characterization and change. And this album has ready individuality, first and foremost expressed just in the open, certainly with the end closure to that number. What do you think about that? I'll leave the question, I guess, in deliberation of all of you. The more I think about it, the more I understand it, and the more I welcome it as a new element. I still find it, again, I wonder how A Theater of Dimensions will close out. We'll see together, because it could either be an abrupt cutoff, or paved, but organized strategically, but it could be an immediate cutoff, or it could be like this with Fade, where typically if they're going to have a fade, let's say for example by comparison, I think of Sacrificium, the way that one closes with isolated vocals and the effect on Diana's voice, I love Sacrificium, I've listened to that song so many times now, the way that song raps is directly individual, but it's so welcome in the originality of closing out on isolated vocals, plus the wording she uses and the pace of it, it matches so evenly. That could be, we don't know yet with A Theater of Dimensions. We're going to walk into that again with introductory eyes in 2 numbers to go until that point. But they could do a fade out. I would have seen it, though, considering the cinematic quality to Theater of Dimensions, broadly speaking, I would have seen it best and fittingly, expectantly entertained there. Not so early with Song for Sorrow and Woe, but again, the more I think on it, I think it is warranted on the direction of this if you're going to place that anywhere. It does work. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Again, I'll leave the question up to you. And, of course, your thoughts on the piece in general. What do you think of Song for Sorrow and Woe? And how do you approach XANDRIA if you wish to declare it? Longtime fan or initiate perspective, what lens do you take? 2 more entries to go before we get to the album conclusion. And every piece thus far, in its own personalities, including this one, just little cues to it. And even in the organization generally with the O refrains, plus that little warble in the symphonic, I really like that touch. Individual dimension and that closure. Each piece differentiated in its own way, but still creating a unified work in purity and prowess of XANDRIA's capability. And I readily love this era we're exploring in a much deeper window with Diana's credits. Truly an achievement of their library, with 3 more entries to go, and I think they will be equally as glamorous, I would imagine. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.